I'd like to call on Giacomo Martirano, the Chief Technical Officer of Epsilon Italia, who's going to talk to us about GeoSmartCities. We're looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. GeoSmartCity is a running project, but the title proposal, I'd like to go in a while to explain why the term is appropriate. So the goal, to demonstrate that making geodata interoperable and reusable by means of open standards create an economic value, which is quite ambitious. But I think that without ambitions, we don't go anywhere. So it is important to highlight, in my opinion, that particularly in the second half of the session, the word geospatial is becoming more and more present in the speech. And we can say that, in my opinion, there is not, so geospatial data, it's better to do not consider as a special category of data, because I think that there is not any data without any location dimension behind. So we can consider the whole plethora of data belonging to this category. The scope of the project is related to two scenarios: the underground infrastructures and the green energy, because we want to go into vertical examples, hopefully leading examples, to show that all what we heard about can be achievable. So the first one, the underground networks, you can see how it is affecting our daily life. We can see on because in the basic underlying concept to achieve our goal, in our opinion, is to make use of common data models. And we learned also from the presentation this morning by Giorgia Lodi, which is a paradigm which is quite used Europe-wide. And in terms of this adoption of common data model, we took a lot of benefit from Inspire Directive, which was mentioned before, which is providing the core data models for 34 teams. On top of them, many requirements coming from the different users can contribute to adopt these common data models. And in this respect, what we did in this project was to collect requirements coming from two different member states, from one region, which is the Flanders region. Another one is a municipality coming from Italy, which are engaged in implementing national laws dealing with such kind of infrastructures. And so the exercise that we made, and that's why the proposal that we want to share with you, is that starting from common European binding by law core data models, adding on top, extending these core data models according to very precise guidelines in order to do not break interoperability, we can build a wider data model which can serve needs coming from all European actors involved. And on the left side, you see how the model, what the model is asking. On the right, you see the real situation, which is still far from the harmonization, and which can cause a lot of risk. It was very interesting in our project that on top of these data models, requirements were coming, for instance, this is a cross-sector interoperability example, because the Italian municipality was asking to help them in order to add more feature types in order to better and more efficiently collaborate with the people in charge of the security of the networks, because there are several landslides affecting the underground networks, and sometimes it was happening that the two datasets, the same data was dealt with two different datasets, not updated, so causing a lot of problems. And in the Flanders region, for instance, there was the need to add another feature type, which was called the crowdsourcing feature type, enabling any maintainer to store on a precise location the coordinates of their monitoring activities, and selecting from a code list, which was the specific event. So this kind of extension of data model, in our opinion, can serve needs coming from all the member states. The data model is shared in an open way in the Inspire thematic cluster, so it is ready to collect feedback from many other users. The second scenario is the green energy, and in this case we have to say that unfortunately even the European legislation does not help so much in terms of interoperability, because there are directives setting minimum requirements. On top of them, member states add much more information, not always in the same direction. So the heterogeneity of the data flows which are behind any directive can break the interoperability. And in this case, we made a sort of alignment between different use cases in order to achieve a common data model. Target groups in our case are all the target groups that we mentioned before, all the target groups of the ISA and the ISA², so public authorities, utilities, small businesses, and citizens. And I think we were quite visionary, because the proposal of the project was built in, it is an ICT PSP project funded started the 1st of March 2014. The proposal was written in 2012. And so now that the project is a 3 years, is a project running for 3 years, we are at almost after we are entering in the last year. And I think that what now the project is providing can be used as a proposal for the implementation, for the interoperability issues that we learned today. In terms of impact, we are demonstrating this with 10 pilots, which are cities and regions from 8 member states. And it is extremely interesting to see how we are dealing with different cultures, I would say with different attitudes to manage data and data flows. A big impact already achieved, in our opinion, is that in terms of capacity building, each of these pilots has together a technical partner and an administration. And working together, these two different types of stakeholders, but achieving the same goal, I think it was a great success already achieved. In terms of reusability, I think that the results can be very easily exploited in other geographical areas, so the cross-border by default in other scenarios or domains, because sometimes when we emphasize the aspect of being cross-border, I think we have not to think to administrative boundaries or to physical borders, because sometimes the same 2 neighbor offices in the same administration may have quite a big boundary splitting them. So we have to think about cross-border also in more metaphysical terms. And last but not least, in terms of impact, we are very willing to receive feedback by other interested parties also in this conference and in the future. These are the contacts, and thank you very much for your attention.